Hello respected viewers, I'm George from Ireland. So this video is about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, whom I haven't mentioned for, well, a few weeks now. Like to ignore them, but you can't. So there they are in California, and though they've denounced anti-vax propaganda, rightly, that hasn't stopped them signing this deal, well, going through this $25 million deal they made with their streaming super major Spotify. They say that they're deeply perturbed by Spotify's behavior because it has disseminated this anti-vaccination nonsense from Joe Rogan, who's a well-known professor of virology. Stand-up comedian. But hey, is there a difference? Because of course a stand-up would know more about vaccines than any professor of epidemiology or any other medical science. But people say that Meghan and Harry don't have high ethical standards, but that's an outrageous slur because $25 million is a very high ethical standard. It's a bit like, who was it, Groucho Marx said, these are my principles, and if you don't like them, I have others. So here is Prince Harry, a man who inherited tens of millions of dollars at the age of 21 from his mother. Much of that money came from the taxpayer, but obviously that's not enough for him. Despite his unearned wealth, he's getting tens of millions of dollars more, which is really, again, to some extent unearned, because his fame is unearned, saying, you know, I was born to this, you gotta feel sorry for me, I didn't choose this lifestyle. All right, but you are choosing to capitalize in it whilst not being restricted by any of the protocol, not performing any of the public duties, unlike the rest of your kin. And obviously Meghan is a volunteer member of the House of Windsor, but they're half in, half out. They're in as much as it suits them, and they're out in as much as that conveniences them. So they shan't be tied down by any staid convention or indeed common decency towards their blood relatives or her marital relatives. Now, Tucker Carlson, one of my least favourite American broadcasters, but for once he's on the money. He said that this couple are brain dead and fake. Well, that's definitely true. So they've only published 25 minutes of content for Spotify so far, but people have been cannonading these two, and they are indeed grifters, as Carson said. So there they are living in their, is it $14 million mansion in Montecito, California? Does make you a bad person to be wealthy. I would have $14 million if I could, but then don't preach to me about we're having to do our bit and make sacrifices for climate change. You know, you have 2 children. You don't need a 9-bedroom house with 18,000 square foot of space. You don't need a 7-acre garden, right? Because think of all the electricity that's using up with the air conditioning, everything else. You don't need to be jetting across the Atlantic. So Harry's bleating that, you know, he needs security when he visits the United Kingdom. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got a better idea. Don't come. You're not wanted in the UK, I can tell you. So your family might receive you on sufferance, but you could obviously save the planet and also save yourself some money from paying for security by just staying there in California. So they get $500,000 for every minute of talking. Nice work if you can get it. And of course, who would care what Harry has to say if he hadn't been born a prince? Still a prince, calls himself a prince. Want to call themselves Sussex Royal, Meghan writing people as the Duchess of Sussex, which she is. But if you find it that objectionable to be tied down by this evil family, you gave up your whole career for this family. Well, you got it back now after about 18 months. Then don't use the title if it's also utterly repugnant to you. So they are indeed a couple of deadbeats, as another American opinion former said. Now, Judge Janine Pirro, again, someone I find disgustful, said that these two are pathetic and irrelevant. In America, nobody cares what you think. Well, that's not quite true. Spotify is not stupid. They wouldn't be paying these big bucks if they didn't have an audience for them. If it really is a commercial flop, then presumably Spotify won't extend it. So yes, it is true that Joe Rogan, who's been propagandizing for anti-vax, misinformation, disinformation, and, you know, careless talk costs lives. Perhaps it's not even careless, perhaps it's very crafted in consonance with the irrational instincts of a sadly large segment of the American populace. I know you'll find these anti-enlightenment people anywhere in the world, but it seems to me in the developed world they're more prominent in the United States than anywhere else. So Nevertheless, Meghan and Harry are going to continue evangelizing for causes they believe on there. They could have found another media outlet. They could simply issue press releases, do their own content through media like this one, but perhaps it wouldn't reach too many people. But if they really were people who had moral principles, they would terminate this contract. Presumably they can get out of it, even if they have to pay some sort of compensation. Anyway, so these two, they are relevant. I think decreasingly relevant. We're not hearing so much of them. It could be they think not to saturate the market with content from them, lest people reach a certain fatigue with them. And I wonder whether Trump is doing that. If you hear him too much, see him too much, do people reach a certain sense of weariness with him? I'm not sure his base is jaded with him, so maybe he knows what he's doing. But with Meghan and Harry, is less more? I'm undecided. I'm not a PR person. Don't really know how the media market works, as no doubt this video has shown. So these two are really not to my taste, as I've previously pointed out. But perhaps this is a tonic for the royal family, some light relief, diverting attention from their sainted Uncle Andrew. And notably, when Princess Kate and Prince William were leaving some public reception a fortnight ago, they were asked, do you support Andrew? That's Prince William's paternal uncle. And the two didn't utter a phoneme and just hastened off. So that would be a negative silence. By saying nothing, that means they're saying, no, we do not support him. And obviously, the royal family need him like they need in the hole in the head, especially when he's casting a pall over the royal house during the Platinum Jubilee year, as in when the United Kingdom and indeed the Commonwealth celebrates the Queen being 70 years on the throne. So this was perilous content put out by Joe Rogan, telling people the vaccines don't work, that they have terrible side effects. I don't know what the side effects are, okay? I've not studied them. I do know that the main effect of not taking them is death in the short term. Obviously not in every case, serious illness, but there was a British professor of virology who worked in this Oxford AstraZeneca saying, you know, these anti-vaxxer politicians and so forth, they've cost hundreds of thousands of people their lives around the world. People have refused to take it, who've died as a result. And there have been some penitent American opinion formers who were anti-vaxxers who paid with their lives for their idiocy. So it's like, you know, it's like people winning Darwin Awards. Imbecility can be fatal. This is highly misleading or deceptive content out there. They've gone through these double-blind tests. I know they had to fast-track them because had to weigh the cost-benefit analysis. The risk of not taking them seemed to be much greater than of taking them, and then we could reopen the economy, and then we could get exercising and have all the mental and physical health benefits of getting back to a semblance of normality. So even Joe Rogan, he's now contrite and has recanted his previous idiocy. But sadly, this recantation very seldom undoes the harm that the original pronouncement had. It's sort of the Semmelweis effect, that people their reflex is to stick with their preconceived notions and to refuse to accept the countervailing evidence. They dig their heels in. So there are many entrenched opponents of vaccines. And Fox News has just been nauseating in its rank hypocrisy, insisting on vaccination for its staff whilst busily spreading anti-vax lies to the world. That's enough from me, so thank you so much for donations on PayPal. Please keep them coming. GeorgeCallahan79@gmail.com. Toodaloo.